Chapter 1, Silver Dragon Dungeon. The damp air of the dungeon was suffocating, the scent of stone and iron mixed with ancient magic. Heavy footfalls echoed in the dim chamber, followed by a voice like silk over steel. Her Majesty. A silver-clad guard bowed low. Shall we execute him now, Your Majesty? Rosweiss raised a hand, her silver eyes gleaming with cold command. You all leave. I want to speak to him alone. The guards exchanged uneasy glances but obeyed. Yes, Your Majesty. The door groaned shut behind them, leaving only two beings in the vast, silent dungeon. Rosweiss approached the broken man chained to the wall, her movements as graceful as they were predatory. Leon Cosmode, the great dragon-slaying hero. How does it feel to be a prisoner of our dragon clan? Leon's breath was ragged, his body slumped in exhaustion. Yet his defiance burned bright in his eyes. Kill me. Rosweiss' lips curled into a smile, an unsettling mix of amusement and cruelty. She crouched before him, tracing his chin with a razor-sharp nail. Oh, you want me to give you a quick death? Her smile deepened. But it's not that easy. She leaned closer, her breath warm on his skin. You are quite handsome, aren't you? Suddenly, her claw sliced across his cheek. Blood welled from the wound. Let's add a few scars to make you even more perfect. Leon grimaced but refused to cry out. Stop humiliating me. Just get it over with. Kill me, chop me up, just do it fast. Rosweiss chuckled, her voice dripping with mockery. How noble. If not for the schemes of others, you wouldn't have fallen so far. But I have an idea. She lifted her blood-stained fingers to her lips and licked them slowly, savoring the taste. Join our Silver Dragon clan, Leon. Leon glared. Are you worthy? Her smile vanished. In an instant, her tail whipped through the air, slamming him into the wall. Leon coughed, blood spilling from his lips. Rosweiss stepped over him, her heel pressing into his chest. How dare a prisoner speak to me that way? Her voice dripped with disdain. Leon Cosmode, do you still see yourself as the hero mankind once praised? Do you dream of wiping out the Dragon Clan and becoming a legend? She leaned closer, whispering, Wake up. You'll die here, a forgotten fool, an insect squashed under the claw of a dragon. Leon gritted his teeth, his defiant gaze unwavering. Don't underestimate humans. Rosweiss' eyes flashed. In one fluid motion, her tail wrapped around his neck, lifting him into the air. He struggled against the crushing force but managed a pained grin. Two mistakes, Rosweiss. Leon gasped. First, you shouldn't have stayed alone with the most dangerous dragon slayer alive. Her expression flickered with confusion. And second, blood dripped from Leon's lips as his grin widened. You should never taste my blood. Blood curse. Rosweiss' tail loosened in shock, and Leon fell to the ground, gasping for air. A strange heat began to spread through her body. It's so hot. What have you done to me? She whispered, clutching her chest as if it burned from within. Leon coughed, dragging himself to his feet. The blood curse, it's a forbidden spell. By tasting my blood, you've formed a soul bond with me. When I die, the curse will drown you in endless pain, for the rest of your life. Rosweiss' eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. If it only activates upon your death, then why is this happening now? Leon smirked. The curse has side effects. Before she could react, she felt herself drawn toward him, her body betraying her mind. She pushed Leon to the ground, panting heavily. What? What's happening to me? She gasped, her silver hair falling over his face. Without thinking, she kissed him, a desperate hunger driving her actions.
An hour later. The cold dungeon air kissed their bare skin. Rosweiss sat up, covering herself with her arms, her cheeks flushed with shame and fury. What did you do to me? She demanded. Leon lay on the ground, his body battered but his grin victorious. I told you. The blood curse creates a soul bond. When I die, the pain will haunt you forever. But until then, well, I didn't expect this particular side effect. Roswei's fists clenched as she struggled to contain her emotions. Nonsense! We dragons follow the rule of monogamy. No. Leon interrupted, his grin widening. And that's the beauty of it. When I die, not only will you never have another mate, you'll also have no descendants. No dragon successor. Just like you said I wouldn't. Her fury exploded. She grabbed a nearby cloth to cover herself, and lunged at him, striking him across the face. You bastard! Leon coughed, laughing despite the pain. You want to kill me? Go ahead. But I won't be the only one suffering. Rosweiss glared down at him, her body trembling with rage and confusion. You are just a human. And you've taken your revenge in the most despicable way, she whispered. Leon closed his eyes, his voice a low whisper. Live with hatred for me, and pain for the rest of your life. That's my curse to you. Rosweiss stood, her expression unreadable as she donned her clothes. You want to die so easily? How can it be so cheap? Once a legendary dragon-slaying hero, lay in a dimly lit room. Memories of his glorious past flashed before his eyes, and he felt the weight of his current predicament. As a child prodigy, he was renowned for his strength and bravery, but those days felt like a distant dream. At the age of 5, Leon had killed a vicious beast threatening his village with nothing but his bare hands. His innate prowess caught the attention of a passing dragon slayer, who took him under his wing. By the time he turned 10, he had entered the prestigious Imperial Dragon Slayer Academy. 4 years later, he graduated with the highest honors in history, becoming the youngest graduate ever to achieve such a feat. At 15, he stepped onto the battlefield, facing dragons and reclaiming lost territories for the Empire. With each battle fought, his name grew more legendary. Leon was known as the strongest dragon-slaying hero and humanity's last hope in the war against the dragons. However, everything changed when he was captured by the very clan he had sworn to eradicate. Leon's eyes fluttered open, and reality crashed in around him. The familiar smell of damp stone and the distant flicker of light brought him back to consciousness. Where am I? He muttered, his voice hoarse and barely above a whisper. As he sat up, a small figure peeked through the door, her wide eyes sparkling with innocence. Hey, you're awake! She exclaimed. Leon squinted, confusion washing over him as he registered her presence. Who are you? He asked. The little girl stepped into the room, revealing a strange mix of black and white hair cascading down her small shoulders. What a good name! Leon responded, curious. But why is your hair like that? Mom said it means the moon, she replied proudly. Angels have mothers too? He wondered aloud. Uh-huh. My name is Leon. Leon Cosmode, he said. I know. Leon means lion, she exclaimed with excitement. Who told you this? Leon asked, intrigued. That's what my mom said too, she answered with a big smile. Suddenly, the name Rosweiss crashed over him like a tidal wave. He felt shock ripple through him as he processed the revelation. May I ask who your mother is? He inquired. Rosweiss, she said cheerfully. He gasped, realizing the implications. Your mother is Rosweiss. Then, I am, she trailed off. The weight of the revelation crushed him. You are my daughter? He asked incredulously. At that moment, the door swung open, and Rosweiss entered, a mixture of annoyance and relief on her face. Mom! Mom, Dad is awake! The little girl squealed. Yeah, I know. You finally woke up, Leon, Rosweiss said, her expression softening slightly. Yet, There was an underlying tension in her tone. Mom must be happy to see Dad awake because you come to visit him every day, she added with a hint of sarcasm. Leon's thoughts spiraled in disbelief as he processed her words. Only a ghost would believe that, he thought. Myun, go out and play for a while. I have something to say to your father, Rosweiss instructed. Okay, Myun replied and skipped out of the room. As soon as the door closed, Leon turned to Rosweiss, his heart heavy with confusion and resentment. Is she really my daughter? He asked, searching her eyes for answers. Of course. What else could she be? She is our biological daughter, Rosweiss replied, her tone matter-of-fact.
Leon's expression twisted with a mix of anger and disbelief. You hate me. Why did you give birth to the child? Why did you save me? He demanded. Rosweiss' expression hardened. You've been asleep for 2 years. Do you think I could just let go after what you did to me? She shot back, her voice rising with emotion. Leon felt the heat of her words. Why, did you save me? We are different. We cannot coexist. If it were any other time, I would never have touched you, he replied, frustration evident in his voice. Oh? So touching me is also torture for you? Rosweiss retorted, her eyes narrowing. With a sudden burst of movement, Rosweiss pushed him back against the bed, her expression a fierce blend of anger and determination. I want to carve my own dragon pattern on you, she declared, climbing on top of him, pinning him down with surprising strength. Stop it, Rosweiss. Leon protested, feeling vulnerable beneath her grip. Rosweiss' hands moved swiftly, tearing at his shirt and exposing his chest. This will become your shame, Leon. From now on, you will be my prisoner. You will never leave me, she said, her voice laced with dark satisfaction. When your fellow humans see the dragon tattoo on your body, what will they think? Will they see a great dragon-slaying hero or a traitor who surrendered to the dragon clan? Leon shot back defiantly. Rosweiss' eyes blazed with a dark intensity, her voice low and filled with malice. Why, do it to this extent, he pressed, struggling to understand her motivations. Don't you understand? Leon, the dragon race's concept of revenge is complex and deeply ingrained. Their desire for vengeance is an inhuman trait, paranoia, extreme, and beyond human understanding, she explained, her tone unwavering. Leon felt a cold dread settle in the pit of his stomach, a sense of helplessness creeping in as he realized the full scope of Rosweiss' intentions. In that moment, something within him stirred, a mix of defiance and despair. He refused to let her have the satisfaction of breaking him entirely. This feeling, he murmured, caught in the intensity of their confrontation. Rosweiss leaned closer, her breath mingling with his. The tension between them was palpable, a strange dance of love and hate, revenge and vulnerability, a clash of two worlds destined to collide. Although this is incredible from a human perspective, this is my revenge on you as a dragon, Rosweiss said, their lips hovering near each other. As the air thickened with unspoken words, the line between captor and captive blurred. The stage was set for a conflict neither of them could have anticipated, a battle of wills where love and hatred intertwined. End of Chapter 2.
The Silver Dragon Castle. In the grand halls of the Silver Dragon Castle, two maids exchanged whispers. The queen seems to be in a good mood today, one remarked, glancing toward the throne room. You don't know this, her husband has finally woken up. The other maid replied, excitement lacing her words. Bah! That female dragon actually announced to the public that I was her husband. The first maid scoffed, rolling her eyes. You have no idea how terrifying that mother dragon is. The second maid replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Meanwhile, Leon, the dragon slayer, found himself lost in thought, recalling the previous night. Move! Move faster, Leon. Rossweiss had urged him, her voice echoing in his mind. Ugh, she squeezed me for a whole day and night. My waist is almost broken. He groaned, frustration welling up inside him. I, Leon, will never stay here and become her plaything. He glanced around the castle, noting the 4 dragons guarding the side door. It felt impossible to escape. Yet, something was off. Why were there so few guards today? The castle felt eerily quiet compared to the chaos from when he had arrived 2 years prior. Huh? How come there is a hole here? He murmured, spotting a small gap in the wall. This can't be a trap, can it? With determination, he slapped his hands together. Never mind, I can't think too much right now. I have to leave here no matter what. Even if it is a trap, I will force my way out. Goodbye, perverted mother dragon. As for the little dragon named Myun, although she is very cute, she can only be yours for the time being. He declared, a hint of resolve in his voice. Above him, his daughter Myun spotted him from the castle roof. Mom, look. Dad is digging a dog hole. How cool! She exclaimed, stretching out on the sun-warmed roof. I saw it. He's pretty awesome, her mother, Rossweiss, replied with a hint of pride. When will Mom go and catch him back? Myun asked innocently, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Myun, you can't say fish him back when talking about your dad. It's very rude, Rossweiss corrected, her tone light yet firm. So what should I say? Myun asked, puzzled. Just say catch him back, Rossweiss said, a small smile tugging at her lips. After some time, Leon continued his escape, pushing himself as he ran. After climbing over these mountains, I'll see the borders of human territory, he thought, determination fueling his steps. After running so far, that female dragon shouldn't catch up with me, right? Suddenly, he shouted in surprise, recognizing a familiar voice. Rossweiss. You are quite a runner, Leon, she teased, gliding through the air above him in her majestic dragon form. Damn it. He cursed under his breath, frustration mounting. It must be fun to play with me like this, right? Rossweiss descended, her scales glinting in the sunlight. I am indeed very satisfied. Don't you think this is too smooth? Who helped you divert the guards and left a hole for you to escape? Leon shot her a serious look, determination etched on his face. Even if I knew it was a trap, I had no choice. I just didn't expect you to catch up so quickly. She leaned closer, her enormous dragon head towering over him, casting a shadow. What will happen if you return to human territory now? You already have my mark on your chest. Do you think they will still recognize you as a dragon slayer? Leon met her gaze with fierce conviction. Then I will start my life again as an ordinary person, which is better than being tortured by you. Rossweiss flared her wings in frustration. TSK. You don't know how to appreciate my kindness. Wah! Leon shouted as she scooped him up in her claws, sending his heart racing. Let me go. Where are you taking me, you dragon? He yelled, panic rising. Since you want to go back so much, I will help you, she declared, and with a powerful flap of her wings, they soared through the sky. 3 hours later, they neared the Empire's border city. With a flick of her claws, Rossweiss tossed him gently into a tree. Wah wah. It hurts, he groaned as he landed awkwardly. Leon blinked in surprise as he looked around. Is this a human town? Rossweiss suddenly appeared beside him, a teasing smile on her lips. That's right. That's the human empire. When you see the long-lost human town, do you feel that you can return to the human world just by stepping over it? But Leon, you can't go back, even if it seems so close at hand. She warned, her expression shifting to one of seriousness. Oh, I forgot to mention, Rossweiss continued, her tone turning sultry. When one of the 2 people with the dragon mark wants to have sex with the other, the dragon male will produce a reaction. Leon's heart raced as he processed her words. Do you want to be here? Yes. Do you know why I brought you here? I want you to understand what shame is right in front of your hometown, so close to it. She replied, her gaze piercing through him. Leon, fueled by a mix of defiance and attraction, met her eyes with confidence. Do you think I will lose faith because of this? He suddenly grabbed her hand, his voice steady. I will wait patiently until that opportunity comes. By then, I will repay you double for all the humiliation you've put me through. Rosweiss' eyes sparkled with intrigue. Oh, okay. With a playful smile, she leaned in closer, pressing her body against his. I'll be waiting for you, dead or alive. She teased, rubbing her form against him, sending shivers down his spine. End of chapter 3.
Near the border city of the Empire, in the stillness of the wilderness, under the canopy of towering trees, Leon lay sprawled on a thick branch, his breath steady but his mind disoriented. His shirt lay discarded to the side, and next to him, Rosweiss adjusted the delicate folds of her clothes, her silver hair shimmering as sunlight peeked through the leaves. A satisfied, almost wicked grin curled on her lips as she finished dressing. I must say, Leon, Rosweiss murmured in a teasing tone, her voice honeyed with amusement, I'm very satisfied with your performance just now. She playfully ran a finger down the center of his bare chest, tracing his scars with mock tenderness, her silver eyes glinting mischievously. How about I bring you back here every month? A little trip to your hometown to keep the spark alive? Leon's brows furrowed as he shoved her hand away with mild irritation. Bah! He barked, sitting up and running a hand through his disheveled hair. You're a dragon with your head in the clouds, always scheming how to drain me dry. Rosweiss' grin widened, a playful light dancing in her eyes. TSK. So, you've seen through me, she admitted, her wings unfurling slightly as if in mock defeat. Her smile was both sly and affectionate. But enough rest. Let's go. Our daughter is waiting for us. Leon scowled as he rose to his feet, dusting off the leaves clinging to his trousers. Wait a minute, he grumbled. Rosweiss gave him a bemused glance, her arms folded. As a dragon slayer, Leon declared with his usual bravado, I won't be treated like some helpless prey. I can walk just fine on my own. Rosweiss arched a brow, clearly amused by his stubbornness. Oh, can you now? She asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. From here to the Silver Dragon Castle, it takes 3 hours flying at my speed. On foot, it'll take you at least 10 days. Maybe half a month if you don't get eaten first. Leon scoffed, crossing his arms. It's just 10 days. Don't underestimate human endurance. Rosweiss smirked. I'd love to see how far that endurance takes you. Later on the forest path, the sun dipped lower into the sky, and the once confident swagger in Leon's step had dwindled to a slow trudge. Sweat dripped down his brow, and his breath grew ragged. Huff, huff. His legs trembled with each step, though he stubbornly pressed on, not wanting to admit defeat. Rosweiss hovered beside him, walking gracefully with that same amused grin plastered on her face. Can't walk anymore, she asked sweetly. If you ask nicely, I might carry you. Leon shot her a defiant glare. Who said I was tired? He snapped, though his voice lacked its usual bite. Rosweiss chuckled under her breath. The only thing tough about you is that sharp tongue. Before Leon could retort, movement caught his eye ahead. Mounted soldiers clad in armor, their banners fluttering in the breeze. His heart skipped a beat. Dragon slayers. A mix of emotions swirled inside him. Hope, fear, and dread. If they recognize Rosweiss, this could turn ugly. One of the soldiers, a man with a grizzled beard and a stern gaze, called out as they approached. You too. Are you lost? Leon forced a strained smile, nudging Rosweiss to play along. No, just out for a stroll. The soldier gave them a dubious glance. This forest isn't exactly a place for casual strolls. Dangerous creatures roam here. He tipped his helmet. I'm Captain Walker of the 47th Imperial Dragon Slayer Squadron. If you need help, I can offer you a ride. Leon's heart raced as he noticed Rosweiss' expression darken. Her silver eyes narrowed, and he could feel the tension rising from her in waves. She's ready to kill them. Not good. Leon reacted instinctively, grabbing Rosweiss' wrist just before she could summon her magic. He yanked her toward him, and her soft, lithe body collided with his. For a moment, she froze, her breath hitching in surprise as her chest pressed against him. "Sir," Leon said, plastering a sheepish grin on his face. "You must have me confused with someone else. I just have one of those faces that everyone recognizes." He gave Rosweiss a sidelong glance, whispering urgently, "Play along." Captain Walker chuckled, the tension in the air easing. Well, you two look like quite the pair." Leon tightened his hold on Rosweiss's waist, giving her a warm, if slightly panicked, smile. "Right, honey, my wife even forgets who I am sometimes." Rosweiss' eye twitched with annoyance, but she forced a smile, her sharp teeth gleaming dangerously. Walker laughed heartily. "I won't get in the way of lovebirds, then. Enjoy your stroll." As the soldiers rode away, Leon finally released Rosweiss. "You've hugged enough," she muttered, her voice low with irritation. Leon rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "Hey, it worked, didn't it?" Rosweiss crossed her arms, her gaze sharp. "You were smart not to call for help. But don't get any ideas, Leon." She leaned in close, her voice a low growl. "Just because we have children doesn't mean I'm your wife." Leon rolled his eyes. "I never said I wanted to be your husband." Rosweiss snorted, flicking her hair over her shoulder as she turned away. "Come on. We still have a long way to go." Leon followed her, grumbling under his breath. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through the hand he had grabbed Rosweiss with. His fingers throbbed, red marks spreading across his skin as his vision blurred. Ugh! The world tilted, and before he could stop himself, he collapsed onto the dirt path. Rosweiss paused, glancing down at him with an arched brow. "Fainted already," she scoffed, more amused than concerned. "What a fragile little human." With a sigh, she shifted into her dragon form, her silver scales gleaming in the dim light. Her massive jaws gently scooped Leon up, placing him atop her head. "This time," she muttered, her voice a low rumble, "I'll take that as a plea for mercy." With a powerful beat of her wings, Rosweiss lifted off into the sky, carrying Leon toward the distant silver dragon castle. As they soared above the forest, her thoughts wandered, a strange warmth stirring in her chest. Perhaps, just perhaps, this human wasn't as tiresome as she had first thought, and Leon, even in his unconscious state, might soon realize that no matter how far he tried to run, he was
Opening with Leon's awakening. Leon's body felt heavy, his limbs sluggish as he slowly blinked his eyes open. The soft morning light filtered through the unfamiliar room, casting a warm glow over the wooden walls and unfamiliar furnishings. His muscles ached as if every part of him had been through a fight, and knowing his luck, it probably had. "Ugh!" Leon groaned, wincing from the sharp twinge in his side. Before he could sit up properly, a cheerful, high-pitched voice cut through the haze in his mind. "Dad, you're awake." Mune, the tiny half-dragon child, stood beside him, her bright tail flicking back and forth like an excited puppy. Leon stared at her for a moment, his thoughts slow to catch up. "Dad?" That word still didn't sit well with him, no matter how often she said it. He dragged himself upright, glancing around the room with a confused frown. "Ugh. How did I get back here?" he muttered, rubbing his eyes. Mune beamed. "It was Mom who brought you back?" Her tail wagged harder, a blur of excitement. At the mention of her, Leon's mind immediately darkened. Images of last night's encounter flooded back, Rosweiss' cold, calculating gaze, the sharp sting of her claws, and his failed escape attempt. A scowl spread across his face. "Damn it, she finally caught me like prey." His thoughts were interrupted when he noticed something strange. His hand was wrapped in a bandage, the white cloth neatly tied around the wound Rosweiss had inflicted. "What is?" Leon muttered, turning his hand over in disbelief. Mune's golden eyes sparkled with pride. "I'm the one who bandaged it for Dad," she chirped, practically glowing under the hope for praise. Leon blinked at her. Dragons are supposed to be ferocious, he thought, recalling everything he knew from years of dragon hunting. They grow up steeped in violence and blood from birth, but this child... He glanced down at the little girl, who looked up at him with nothing but pure adoration. "She's nothing like the dragons I've known." Could it be because she was a hybrid, a mix of dragon and human? Or maybe, Mune's innocent affection was something he simply wasn't prepared for. With a small, awkward smile, Leon reached out and patted her head. "Well, Mune is awesome." Mune giggled, the sound light and happy. "Hee hee." Leon's smile deepened for a moment, but then he leaned in, lowering his voice. "Mune, you're cute now, but when you grow up, promise me you won't become like your mother." Mune tilted her head in confusion. "Ha!" Just then, a familiar voice drifted from behind him, low, calm, but carrying an edge of warning. "And what's wrong with being like me?" Leon's heart skipped a beat as he turned to see Rosweiss standing in the doorway, her silver hair catching the morning light. "How does she always sneak up on me like this?" Leon thought, swallowing hard as he looked away from her piercing gaze. And nothing. Oblivious to the tension, Myun happily held up Leon's bandaged hand. Mom, look. Myun bandaged Dad's wound just like you told me to. Rosweiss gave a brief nod, her expression cool and unreadable. This is what you should do. Yes, Mom. Myun replied with eager obedience. Watching the exchange, Leon couldn't help but feel the weight of Rosweiss' strictness. What a strict mother, he thought with a sigh. Patting Myun on the head again, he offered her a conspiratorial smile. Myun, how about you go hide in the garden? I'll count to 100, and then I'll come find you, okay? Myun's eyes lit up with excitement. Really? Dad wants to play hide and seek with Myun. Leon chuckled. Of course. Now, go quick, before I start counting. Myun let out a delighted squeal and bolted for the door. Oh no, don't count so fast, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Leon started counting slowly, watching her tail flick as she disappeared around the corner. Leon confronts Rosweiss. As soon as Myun was out of sight, Leon dropped his cheerful facade and turned to Rosweiss, his expression serious. Hey, I need to talk to you. Rosweiss raised an eyebrow. What? Aren't you being a little too hard on her? Leon asked, crossing his arms. Rosweiss' gaze didn't waver. We dragons all go through this. Only by being strict with our children from a young age can we cultivate strong warriors. Leon groaned, running a hand through his messy hair. But she's not fully dragon. And besides, Myun is adorable. How can you stand to be so cold toward her? Rosweiss' silver eyes narrowed slightly. She is a dragon. And calling a dragon cute is an insult? Leon smirked. You're pretty cute, too. The moment the words left his mouth, Rosweiss' expression shifted. She grabbed him by the collar, yanking him toward her with surprising force. Her breath was warm against his ear as she whispered, You're just a slave for me to vent my anger on. Don't get ahead of yourself. Leon's face paled. Satisfied with his reaction, Rosweiss released him and stepped back, smoothing her hair with an air of superiority. I am the queen of the silver dragons. I have many responsibilities, so the task of raising the child is yours. Before Leon could protest, Rosweiss leaned in once more, her voice soft but firm. That child likes you, Leon. Don't disappoint her. Myun's trick. As Rosweiss left the room, Leon let out a heavy sigh. It's like being a dragon slayer means I'm stuck babysitting. Just then, out of the corner of his eye, Leon spotted a familiar little figure peeking out from behind a pillar. He smirked. Myun, did you really think I wouldn't notice you? He called out playfully, Found you, Myun. But instead of giggling and coming out, Myun's expression was strange. She stared at him for a moment, then suddenly turned and ran off. Myun. Leon blinked in confusion. Hey, wait. He took off after her, weaving through the hallways. Why are you running? What's wrong? He followed her down the corridor, but when he rounded the corner, she was gone. What the? Leon scratched his head in frustration. I just saw her pass this way. Suddenly, a soft giggle sounded behind him. Got you, Dad. Leon whirled around to see Myun standing right beside him, grinning from ear to ear. Wait, didn't you just run past me? Myun tilted her head in confusion. Nope. Dad couldn't find me, so I came to find you. Leon blinked, his mind racing. Did I imagine it? Before he could dwell on it, Myun grabbed his hand, tugging him toward the garden. Come on, Dad. I want to show you something. As Leon let himself be pulled along, as they headed deeper into the garden, Leon failed to notice another figure lurking in the shadows, a second Myun, silently watching them from a distance. The Garden of Secrets. Leon followed Myun through the garden, the vibrant colors of the flowers around them contrasting sharply with the heaviness in his heart. Each petal seemed to bloom with life, a reminder of the innocence he so desperately wanted to protect. Where are we going, Myun? He asked, trying to keep his tone light despite the undercurrent of unease that had settled in his gut. To my secret spot, she exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. You're gonna love it. Leon couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. It was contagious, and he found himself swept up in her joy, even as questions nagged at the back of his mind. What's so special about it? He probed, feigning curiosity to keep the conversation flowing. It's a surprise. Myun giggled, pulling him along as she led him deeper into the foliage. As they navigated through the garden, Leon took a moment to observe his surroundings. The garden was a realm of beauty, filled with vibrant flowers and lush greenery. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting playful shadows on the ground. It was a stark contrast to the battles he often found himself in, a peaceful sanctuary that felt foreign yet comforting. He recalled the last battle he had fought, the feeling of the sword in his hand and the adrenaline coursing through his veins. But now, as he played hide-and-seek with his daughter, it felt as though those moments of violence belonged to a different life, one he was desperately trying to escape. Here we are, Myun exclaimed, her voice pulling him from his thoughts. They arrived at a secluded spot in the garden, a small clearing surrounded by tall, flowering bushes. In the center stood a gnarled tree with branches that reached toward the sky, its trunk wide and sturdy. Moon's eyes sparkled as she pointed at the tree. Isn't